Hello and welcome to the second edition of Porter Prize 2013, where we recognize and reward some of the best Indian companies for their exemplary achievements. The Porter Prize has been named after Professor Michael E. Porter, who's well known as the father of modern strategic field and is a Harvard faculty member. Professor Porter is a leading authority on competitive strategy, competitiveness and economic development of nations, states and regions, and application of competitive principles to social problems such as healthcare, environment and corporate responsibility. The Porter Prize recognizes the best of Indian companies evaluated on the basis of a robust framework. The central idea of this award is to encourage companies to compete on the basis of value creation, innovation and strategy. And today, Indian organizations that have shown exemplary strategic acumen in areas such as distinctive positioning, trade-offs, fit, industry architectural shift, and shared value will take home the honor. Let me first invite Dr. Amit Kapoor from Institute for Competitiveness India to come up on the stage and deliver the opening address.
It's absolutely a pleasure for me to really have you all here and talk about the whole big thing about strategic acumen of Indian corporates and really start a whole huge initiative about celebrating strategy in this country. I would like to thank all the folks who have participated in the awards this year and helping us really move the cause ahead for the idea of strategy, industry evolution, competitiveness, fit, and so on and so forth. Without further ado, I think we should really go bang into the middle of the session. Thank you.
It's my privilege now to call upon Mr. Sohail Seth, Managing Partner, Council Age India, to address the gathering.
You know, for a country that has survived generations on jugaad, for a country that always knows to take the path most traveled but the easiest circumvented, strategy is a bit of a misnomer in more parts than one. You can't survive in marketing without a strategy, and my worry today, as a human being who's always believed in strategy, is that if you don't have a blueprint of where you're headed, if the journey isn't defined based on the milestones you wish to cover, if you don't have a semblance of an idea of what the insightfulness of an evolving consumer space is about to explode or implode, how on earth do you plan for market share? In this changing landscape of consumer insights, I would say the three important things of any strategic underpinning are as follows. What levels of insights are we gathering, and how continuously are we gathering these insights? What intensity of intellectualism do we bring? So insight, intellectual intensity, and what is the innovation that we are bringing about? Calvin Klein many years ago created the sachet. It created wonders, not because of price points, but also because of convenience. When Maggie talked about 2 minutes, no one stood there near the stove timing it if it was 2 minutes. But it was again pursuing convenience for those couples who were double income, no kids, no help, wanted, immediacy of meals, or young people. So in a changing environment, it is no longer what you want to do, but more importantly, what you believe the market will accept. Marketing is not an intellectual ATM. Marketing is about investment. It's about continuous investment in research, which many people dispel. It is continuous investment in insight gathering. It is continuous investment in tracking consumer behavior. It is continuous investment in understanding what levels of influence, either global or local, are going to shape the minds of young people. So what do we do with strategy? I think what we need to do with strategy is, it is not a marketing department's terrain alone. Today, increasingly, the R&D departments of companies are getting involved with strategy, because sometimes the product has to be tweaked, sometimes the product has to be created. Steve Jobs didn't give us an Apple, he didn't give us an iPhone, he didn't give us an iPod. He gave us a seamless experience of enjoyment. In our strategic understanding of imperatives, we've got to understand that the socio-economic trend is as critical as product, pricing, placement, and promotion. The 4 Ps have to be layered with 1 P, which only can stem from strategy. That P is passion. If you're passionate about your business, you'll be passionate about strategy. If you're passionate about understanding the consumer, you'll be passionate about intervening in the consumer's life through a strategic rather than a tactical interface. Think strategically, grow manifold, and you will see that it'll work wonders for your brand. More importantly, it'll work wonders for the most important constituent in our lives as marketeers. And that constituency is the constituency of the consumer. Thank you so much.
Let's begin with our first panel discussion on industry dynamics and architectural shifts. This discussion will focus on strategic positions opened up by the change in context, customers, and competition. Changes that are altering the industry structure and the effect of technology. Let me invite our eminent panelists on the stage.
It's a pleasure for me to welcome our esteemed panelists on this panel today. One of the reasons why we are looking at talking about change, whether it's industry architecture, whether it's technology, is because today change is really the only constant. We live in volatile times, dynamic times. Briefly elucidate your experience with change and what you think are going to be the key drivers for change that organizations need to be aware of.
I would say is a consumer awareness and education is the biggest drivers for change as we witness in our industry. Then the second very important factor which we see is the economic well-being or the prosperity of the society in which we operate. As the per capita incomes go up, the consumer awareness and the consumer demand for the same facility keeps on increasing. And as this keeps increasing, there is a willingness to pull in better technology and better solutions for a same project which was being done otherwise in a more commonplace or in a more intuitive manner.
It's critical that we recognize the architectural shifts which are required to ensure that the industry is built on a solid foundation. Any service which has to be kind of extended across a country like this, it's a huge subcontinental proportion country, and with huge amount of population living across the board, unless you have a technology which can reach out to the length and breadth of the country, it is not really going to help people. And the third part is the capacity building, both financial and particularly from an stock exchange point of view, it's financial capacity as well as ability to use the products which are made available by various parts of the economy.
I'm seeing change at two levels. On the one hand, technology has really enabled a significant architectural shift in the way organizations deliver services, the way organizations create products and services and deliver it to their customers. I think if you see in the last 10 years, technology has enabled and completely changed the way banks provide customer experience, the way telecom companies deliver customer experience. Essentially, what has happened as a result of it, 15 years back, I can tell you CIOs and CTOs were more seen as support function in the organization. IT function used to be people who used to automate business processes in organizations. Whereas today, in any bank, insurance company, or telecom company, the CTO will be on the board, and he would be getting the board to commit to substantial technology investments which would be changing the direction of the organization for the next 5 to 10 years. So I'm seeing substantial changes in the way technology and businesses have changed in the last 15 years, and how service providers have changed in line with the same.
With all these changes that are happening, I think the important thing is that an organization's positioning has to be adaptive. Organizations are depending more and more on the young people, and products, services, and ideas have to be persuaded into these people. And digitization is one technology which is going to drive huge changes across every parameter of the business if the organization has to remain evolving and into the future.
Everyone speaks of change in terms of youth, the new demographic reality. But we have to be cautious on this simply because the older generation, it still dominates government, it dominates big corporates. So when corporates look at change and demographics and say, here is youth and it should drive our marketing strategies, I still say a good half decade remains of more inclusive generations. You have to be inclusive of all generations, I believe still.
Change for the sake of change is not really what organizations should look at. If something works, it's successful, it's delivering results, that's great. Where do you think that fine dividing line lies?
What we have seen really work is really keeping our ear to the ground. I think if we are able to spot in a timely manner how my customer's business is changing, if I'm in a B2B space, or in a B2C space, if I'm able to see how my customers and their lifestyle, their expectations are changing, I think that is the right time to change.
You want to do it in a manner that your existing customers are not in any way feeling that you're kind of moving away from them and adapting to new customers. So this is where I think pre-planning becomes an absolutely important thing.
Given the kind of experience you've had in your industry, what kind of guidelines do you think an organization should follow to be proactive about monitoring and seeing where, understanding how customers change?
I think it's good to study a bit of economics around it. And when you see how, as the income levels rise, how the societies change, how the behavior changes, it is not very difficult to figure out from our perspective that as we get, say 20 years back, most of us hardly went out to eat. Look at the restaurants. They are open everywhere. The eating out, more restaurants are coming up. There are more queuing, less failures, more people going on a holiday. This is a mega trend, and this is a trend globally. All you need to do is to capture it and see how you can make it work for yourself.
As long as you're not governed by profiteering and you are possibly on the right track, and just to ensure that you are continuing in the right track, keep listening, keep your eyes open and keep your ears to the ground. That's the only mantra, I suppose, for any organization to really get itself corrected if it is going off course at any point of time.
Evolving technology clearly, as the panelists discussed, leaves no choice for businesses but to be dynamic and adapted to new strategies and consumer preferences. We'll take a quick break here. When we come back, we will continue with our panel discussions. Welcome back. The brainstorming has just begun, so let's get back to the action on the floor. Moving ahead with our second panel discussion for the evening on trade-offs and choices. The focus of this panel discussion will be strategy, trade-offs, demand decision-making, and inconsistencies in image and reputation.
The topic speaks for itself. It's trade-offs. We face it on our daily routine. I was telling some of the panelists earlier, more removed from us, the central bank governor is struggling with the trade-off in inflation and growth. So does he go for lower inflation, squeeze growth, or let's growth grow and let inflation to slip? Same way we all face choices in our personal lives. So here we have leaders from various segments of global business and Indian business, who could share with us their personal experiences as to how they approach these trade-offs.
We being a little more conventional, I guess, we followed the standard process when we started about 12 years back, trying to be the cost leadership platform, and then come out with a differentiation for our strategy for our services, and thereby formulate a strategy. As time passed, we had to evolve. And one of the things that we had to trade off was we started as a business asset light model. Basically, we do not own any assets in our business. Yeah? The trade-off was it affects our profitability to an extent. What did we trade off with? The trade-off was, do we have flexibility in meeting our customers' changing needs? So the we took a conscious decision not to go for an assetized model and stayed asset light, and we are hanging on to it till now.
We follow four values, and I'm going to use those to talk about some of the decisions that I've gone through in my journey, most of it being in banking and services. The first one is no cliche, everybody knows, agrees, serving the customers. We exist for our customers. The second value, and again an example for me around is doing the right thing. We went, hired people from campuses, invested in them, and our commitment to them was we make you bankers of tomorrow. The third value, which I guess all of us will again relate to, is really thinking long term. And I think finally it's about working together. And there the lessons and the trade-offs are around, are you going to run behind achievements? Are you going to leverage the ability to influence? And if you can bring people together, then that really connects very well in terms of working together.
If the organizational values are clear, the leader's values are clear, and the team's values are clear, and if they're all aligned, then when you run into decision making, where you have to make choices, I think it comes pretty easily. You're not inventing things, you're not doing it off the cuff, but it happens.
We would like to focus and become the best in one topic instead of trying to become the best in several topics in parallel. So one topic is, when it comes to trade-offs, don't put apples and oranges in one basket, separate them and treat them in the way they have to be treated. The second topic, concentrate and focus on one topic.
One of the trade-offs that we decided in our business was that whenever we go to a customer, we need to offer him something beyond the security. For example, we went to a shopkeeper and we told him, will you install our alarm system? He said, kuch nahi hota hai, koi chor aata nahi hai. We said, theek hai. So, but if we tell you what time your shop opens and closes, will you install it? He said, I don't mind it. So these are the trade-offs and choices that we made in our business, and it worked for us. We didn't sell security system as a security system. We went beyond security system as business intelligence tool, as a loss prevention tool, and most importantly, we offered our customers comfort and convenience using security.
How do each of you value these intangibles to define those guiding principles which make you decide on the trade-off or the choice that you make?
You can't really quantify directly as to are the people satisfied, not satisfied. Of course, we do have those surveys and all being done. But what we try to do to quantify those intangibles is we do have those annual surveys where we do take the satisfaction index, and that is directly reflected on to the managers. That way we ensure that whatever we decide strategically as the minimum environment in which our employees work has to be maintained.
For us, an intangible but a very important element of our survival is do our customers trust us? A lot dwells around the principles of transparency and fairness, and if you can really elevate that principle, you only make the foundation of trust stronger. So an example that comes to my mind, intangible, yet can be measured in some form, is the element of trust in the banking world.
If you don't have the right environment in the corporation, people are not going to make decisions. They're just going to say, okay, let it be, things like that. So I think it's very important to create an environment where people are encouraged to make choices, encouraged to make trade-offs. And it's almost impossible for 100% of them to be right. So the intangible part there is, in a way you could say, is about rewarding risk-taking. And very often organizations have a disproportional reward-risk thing, right? You get a 2 reward for making a great decision and maybe a 10 on the other way for not. So I think for me that's a critical part.
Working in an area of research and development, in principle there's one asset that counts at the end of the day, and this is the employees, the people that you have in the organization. This is also what we are focusing on. So for us, one important topic is employee satisfaction. To achieve this, we also came up with a specific concept which we call 4C. The 4C stand for work content, the compensation, the career opportunities, and of course the culture. So this is the basis, number one, creating the employee satisfaction, and based upon that, the trust with the partners for whom we work in the business units. And that comes through quality, delivery, on time, and competitive conditions which we can offer to our partners in the business units. But the basis, like I said, is the employee satisfaction.
In our business, it's a perceived loss which is intangible and a sure loss which is tangible. And we found that Indians by psyche prefer the perceived loss than the sure loss. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm about to board an aircraft and an insurance agent comes to me and says, why don't you take an insurance? You're going to travel by air. Something can happen. I say, how much does it cost me? He said, $500. I said, $500, it's too much. Nothing is going to happen. So I prefer the perceived loss than the sure loss.
And there are just 3 things that we do, and everything, in my opinion, falls in those 3 things. Keep watching for the customers, keep delivering to your customers, keep watching the businesses, look at how the businesses are long-term and sustainable. Watch for people, ensure that you invest in people. People is not expense, people is investment, and their feedback matters. And finally, manage the risk of the organization. And if you can kind of create that culture within the organization, then I think accepting change and driving change more than accepting becomes easy.
Thank you very much. And please give them a hand for a great, terrific discussion.
On the other side, we'll get you some of the best corporate minds to give an insight into their business strategies. Welcome back. We'll now move on to our third panel for the evening. The panel discussion is on fit and synergies. The discussion will address issues of consistency and sustainability in business, optimization of resources for better productivity, exploiting of synergies for sustainable competitive advantage.
Strategy is an imperative today that is bigger than anything we do, because the resources are scarce, the money is expensive, the wrong decisions can be monumental and really kill businesses. In terms of the questions I'd like the panel to address are, how do you use synergy and fit as a strategy for, say, CXO hires? I think hiring and strategy and fit go hand in hand. How do you use it in situations of mergers and acquisitions? How do you use it in terms of when you launch new brands, new businesses? And it applies to both contemporary, current times, and how do you build this strategy and fit for future? So really, these are the questions I'd like the panel to address, because today, the environment that we operate in, failure is not really an option.
We at MRMGF have identified some 5 core processes for streamlining the projects. First is design and the change management. Second is planning. Third is contracting and procurement. Fourth is cost control. Then the 5th is project review and tracking. Now here I would like to talk about MRMGF's vision. The vision is to deliver superior value to our customers, and therefore build and create a new India. By delivering this, what are we getting? You are achieving the market leadership position, and then you have to sustain it. How do you do it? We have tried to mesh in 4 perspectives. Perspective number 1 is the customer perspective. Perspective number 2, it's an internal operations perspective. What do you want? You want to delight the customer. So you will have to understand that you will have to have the internal and managerial processes, and you have to excel in that. What is meant by that? It's virtually the cycle time and the productivity. These are the 2 things which really make you feel that you are on top of the world in respect to the customer satisfaction. Perspective number 3 is innovation and continuous learning. As the saying itself, you have to be continuously on your toes. You will have to understand that you'll have to create value. You'll have to learn more. There has to be intellectual assets. Perspective number 4 is a financial perspective. Finally, what matters is what you are going to show to the stakeholders. The bottom line is the financial results. We are trying our best to, add value to our employees. In other words, magnify their strengths. Let them feel that they matter, and then let them feel they are working in an organization which makes a difference.
I'll bring in somebody who's charming and who always says that the lack of fit and synergies is so visible by the absence of it. So I'd like to bring Sunand Sharma, who's part of a $22 billion enterprise, a 20 billion euro company which is passing through exciting and challenging times at the same time. Sunand, all yours.
Exciting, yes. Roller coaster, yes, definitely. And we have a manufacturing footprint across the world, and yet in the past 10 years for us, everything has changed. With our competition coming from emerging economies, mainly China, and an emerged economy, I would say now South Korea, and our need to grow our business in the same geographies which everyone else is targeting, what do? Delivering projects within time or earlier, within expected quality, and doing continuous improvement, and then with competitive pricing. I mean, the whole is the whole smash. You have nothing which you cannot but do. You have to. As I speak, we are executing in a nearby country a most modern 1,000 megawatt coal-based power plant, and have proven to our customer, who initially was skeptical, that not only can we do it well, but better than predicted. We are about to save the customer 20% in terms of execution time from 40 months to 32 months, and therein lies a huge story of how we got there.
Srini, you work with some of the best known Indian companies in terms of their media investments. How do you see the role of strategy? How do you see the role of being fit in the way it's been defined in our topic, and synergies?
For us, first and foremost, the guiding principle was obviously, do stuff which benefits clients, because we exist because of our clients. And hence, whatever strategies, whatever acquisitions, whatever else we do, obviously has to first of all benefit them first and foremost. So that's clearly point number one. For us, the second, guiding principle really was that, how do we actually diversify our services and move beyond being an intermediary business into an agency which can actually add value for clients. So, if I were to just explain it in terms of numbers to bring the point alive, the sum total revenue of all media planning and buying agencies in this country is just about 1,000 crores. But the sum total size or the revenue of the M&E sector in India, the media and entertainment sector, is 80,000 crores. So it's about 80 times the size of just the media planning and buying industry. So, so when we were setting a guiding principle for ourselves, we said we want to be a player in the 80,000 crore space and not in the 1,000 crore space. Given the scale that we enjoy in this market, and given that we were an early mover, and obviously we have a lot of advantage being in the position that we are. We've hence diversified our services quite a bit. So starting with just media planning and buying for clients about 10-12 years ago, today as Group M we offer a host of services in the areas of digital, in the areas of content, in the areas of let's say movie marketing, in the areas of analytics, and areas of experiential marketing and so on, which typically a media agency wouldn't venture out into. And when we started off all these practices, they were called the non-core. That was called the non-core of the business, and the core of the business was media planning and buying. I'm happy to say that in this year, we're actually going to get more revenue from the so-called non-core than we're getting from the core. So actually, our whole business model is flipped this year, and the non-core is now being rechristened as the new core. So the diversification obviously has helped, because it's like I said, not only driven business results, it's given a lot of client delight, but it's made our business now a lot more robust, because we're not dependent on just the traditional services where we are playing more of an intermediary role. In the new core, we're not playing an intermediary role. In fact, we are driving a lot of the initiatives.
Mr. Shankar, you run Rallis and you deal with farmers, and which are today a very noisy lot, activists. So really, how you align all components of your business to be able to work with them.
We work with farmers at a grassroots level. For those of us who think, farmers are gullible people, actually you'll be surprised. They are very, very intelligent. They actually say that seeing is believing, come and demonstrate your solution in my farm. So it takes a lot in India to actually go and visit a farm and establish a solution. And that's what we do, and we build relationship. So the consistency of activities in creating the fit into your strategy is extremely important, and that's what we really focus on. Very briefly, touching upon mergers and acquisitions, today we have a combination between chemicals and seeds to be able to look at technology disruptions together. So that's the power of synergy driving strategy and how you can leverage mergers and acquisition.
Mr. Narayanan, you run a telecom company. You were a late entrant to the party. Really, how did you align your strategy and bring all the synergies to make it a success in an overcrowded market?
We came 4 years back into this crowded Indian telecom market. And then we had two facts. One is that we had a lot of competition. We had a lot of customers who use mobile phone. We have a lot of customers who do not use mobile phone. And then we wanted a strategy that fits into this society, this community, the kind of users that you have. And we found that 80% of the customers still use an outgoing SIM card, which has got 80% of voice and 20% of data and VAS. And that's where we wanted to put our energy on. And then today, we have got a strategy where we say we are sabse sasta in the voice, where we say that we are the cheapest in the voice, and that's what the customer wants. And then we moved on from there and said that today customer also wants basic data. He wants to check his Facebook. He wants to basically check out whether his mails have downloaded, reached. So those basic data we wanted to provide. And these two things we have given it.
Rajiv Bajaj from Roland Berger Consultants, and they are a strategy consultant. So they have lots of clients from whose experiences he can talk. So Rajiv, all yours.
I think a lot of us use the word strategy very loosely. We think our vision or our goal is our strategy. Actually, that's not our strategy. A strategy is a plan to win and to reach that vision or goal, and to do that on a sustainable basis and to create that superior competitive advantage or superior performance. So the question is, if it is a plan to win, how do you do that? You do that by creating a differentiation. And in simple words, we say that you do that by creating a clear value proposition. So who do you want to serve, what product, what customer, what price? But when you look at what activities or how do you perform your activities, this is where the context of fit and synergy is the most important. The job of a good strategist or job of strategy in an enterprise should be to configure the activities in such a way that one, they reinforce each other, B, they deliver the value proposition for which they've been stated out to do.
All right, thank you to all the panelists. As promised, it is time now we call some of India's best brains to share a few thoughts with us. I would now like to invite Mr. Nadir Godrej, Managing Director of Godrej Industries and Chairman Godrej Agrovet, to address the gathering.
Ladies and gentlemen, now there are those who would opine that businesses do just fine when business is all that they do. Shared value makes a lot of sense when viewed through a certain lens. Now, externalities are the base on which one can make the case. There is a conflict that we face as we pursue the development race. In many a developing nation, there is a lack of education. We are then faced with climate change. And though it seems very strange, governments can't decide to take this problem in their stride. If business goes on as before, these problems will hit us for sure. So businesses themselves will gain by successfully avoiding pain. And if we summon up the will, we have the capital and skill to achieve most social goals. Good projects can always be found where there is a common ground. By this, it should be understood both business good and social good should be enhanced side by side. And we have found when this is tried, there is a constant feedback loop. Both society and the group do benefit in many ways. Shared value serves as well as pays. Growth is good and is our right, we should always keep in sight. As billions seek the promised land, enough resources aren't at hand. What we deplete, we must restore. While this is hard, I'm very sure that if indeed we are wise, we'll first reduce, then neutralize our water use and sea emission, and that will serve as our green mission. These attributes will help to sell, and this will turn out very well by helping businesses to grow much faster and ensure the flow of cash to spend on good and green. And this is how it should be seen. And in due course, this little seed, if nurtured well, will surely grow. And once the results are clearly seen, then the Godrej Group will be perceived as championing both good and green. Thank you.
We'll take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll go to the most awaited section of the evening and hand over the Porter Prize 2013. Welcome back to the last leg of the event and, of course, the most awaited section where we will announce the winners of Porter Prize 2013. I would request Dr. Amit Kapoor to please take over from here.
It's absolutely a pleasure for me to introduce Professor Mike Porter here, after whose name this award has actually been constituted. In fact, without a doubt, he is known as the god of strategy, but there is something so huge behind in terms of what he has done in the last 30 years. Mike, welcome. We have a house full here. We have at least 300 people in this room who are actually looking to listen to you. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Well, thank you, and I'm so pleased to participate in this second annual event, this Porter Prize event. I'm very honored by the fact that this exists, and I'm very pleased to be here. I'd like to talk about really one dimension of this broader idea of value creation, and that is the whole issue of what's the role of business actually in social and environmental issues. Shared value, that is integrating societal needs and business profit. This is the greatest business opportunity that we have in the world. This is where the growth is going to come from. This is where the innovation is going to come from. This is where the new strategic insights are, in many cases, going to come from. This is actually a way in which we can reinvigorate capitalism. The underlying opportunity for shared value comes from the fact that in many cases, there is no trade-off between social and economic. We used to think there was always a trade-off. If you wanted to have less pollution, you had to bear higher cost. The trade-off mentality has been public enemy number one, because that forced companies to think in terms of making a choice. Do I want to have higher profitability, or do I want to have environmental performance? And therefore, companies resisted, regulation, and they fought off efforts in society to kind of put standards on them, and we had a war. We had a war about the environment. We had a war about safety. Now I think the more we've studied these issues, and I've worked in a number of these areas personally over the years, which, by the way, is one of the reasons I've kind of come to understand this stuff. The more we studied it, the more we understand there's no trade-off in many cases. Actually, if you reduce pollution, you improve productivity, you lower waste, you use resources more effectively. There's no trade-off with economic and social. We've understood that actually where there's a social deficit or a social problem, that often creates an economic cost for the business. If we can't hire trained people, we have to train them. If we have crummy infrastructure, we have to bear the cost. So when there's social deficits, we have economic cost. Where there's social deficits, we have the greatest needs that we can meet as businesses. Now that leads to the idea that if we're going to create this shared value, if we're going to drive economic value through solving social problems and environmental problems, We can do it at 3 levels. We can do it with our products and the customers we serve with those products. We can do it with our value chain, how we operate, how we purchase, how we manufacture, how we do logistics, how we deal with our employees, and so forth. And finally, we can do it through our business environment, through the or our cluster, the set of activities outside of our business that we draw on. Increasingly, we're finding that any great strategy needs to have a societal shared value dimension, because this is such a big opportunity in almost every industry, whether it's pharma or medical device or financial services or telecom or agriculture or heavy machinery, whatever field you get in today. What we're learning is the dynamics, the discontinuities, the growth opportunities really almost amazingly often come out of this shared value thinking.
We will now move on to one of the most interesting and the most awaited parts of our event today. We will start with the awards ceremony. Let me now request Mr. Anil Padmanabhan, Deputy Managing Editor, Mint, Shri Uday Pratap Singh, Member Parliament Lok Sabha, and Dr. Preetham Singh to please join us on the stage. I'd also request Mr. Anurag Batra, Media Entrepreneur, to be on the stage with us, please. The first set of awards are the Mint IFC Awards. These focus on recognizing the strategic acumen across various sectors of the economy. The first award this evening goes in the category of Finance, Banking and Insurance, and it has been won by Yes Bank Limited. Our next category is Food and Beverage, and the Mint IFC Award under this category goes to Nestle India. Our next award this evening is in the category of Transportation, Logistics and Aviation. The Mint IFC Award under this category goes to Mahindra Logistics Limited. In the category of Construction, Real Estate and Steel, the Mint IFC Award has been won by Shobha Developers. Information Technology, Telecom and Steel. The Mint IFC Award goes to Maverick Systems Limited. Our last category under this awards section is Services. The Mint IFC Award goes to Siemens. It is now time to reveal the names of the Porter Prize-winning companies for 2013. I'd like to request Dr. K.R. Ramamurthy, CEO Projects MRMGF Land Limited, and Mr. Sanjay Malhotra, CFO MRMGF Land Limited, to join us on the stage. Porter Prize for leveraging unique activities goes to Group M Media India Private Limited for their effective rendering of activities across the value chain that gave them a competitive advantage. CHD Developer Porter Prize for Industry Architectural Shift goes to Narayana Health for redefining the industry structure by challenging the very basis of competition and creating new as well effective business models. Dr. Kapoor will accept the award on behalf of Narayana Health there. Porter Prize for Exploiting Trade-offs goes to Uninor. This award has been given to the company for making choices that made their strategy sustainable and because of which they've been able to create barriers pertaining to emulation. Porter Prize for creating distinctive value has been won by Sealed Air for offering unique solutions to their customers and effectively creating a new market space and segment. The ICICI Lombard Porter Prize for Healthcare goes to Apollo Gleneagles Hospital for redefining the idea of patient care and fundamentally challenging the economic models prevalent within. The last Porter Prize award for the evening is FSD Porter Prize for creating shared value, and it has been shared by two companies, Rallis India Limited and Godrej Industries, as both of them created economic success by redefining markets, products, and created social and economic progress. also like to request all the other winners of Porter Prize 2013 to join us on the stage for a quick group photograph. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Porter Prize, but do join us next year for Porter Prize edition 2014. Thanks much for watching.